Hello and welcome back to another video in this series about how to teach AQA English, and this video we are going to go through the first language paper. Sorry, I've turned the light on in the office and it's made my camera go really weird, so sorry if that's a bit of a distraction. So in this one we're going to look at what will be in the paper, how to hit all those AOs, and then while we're doing that we're going to look at a past paper and kind of compare what we're going through into how that works in the lesson. Sorry, let's go up 70. Right, so this is just a little refresher of those AOs in the language paper. So if you've forgotten what they are, you can take a pause and give them a read through. We're going to be comparing these with the mark scheme when we go through in a bit anyway. And then here are the separate ones for writing, if you want to just give those a pause and read. And then again, here is just a reminder of what the questions are. So in this one, you get 4 questions. You get 1 full marker, which is easy, and your student should not be dropping any marks there. And then you got question 2 on language, question 3 on structure, both 8 marks. And then you got the big 20 marker at the end, which is kind of, I say, constructing a debate. It's more about just analyzing what somebody has said, and you need to back that up or go against it using evidence from the text. You normally support it, and you can also put some contrasting views in there as well. Depends what the question is. Right, and then here again, this is just a reminder of the B side as well. So, students will be given one fictional source material and they will have to analyze it. This is about 45 minutes you should be spending on it. And this is a breakdown of how your students should be answering that question. So you should give about 10 minutes overall for reading and highlighting. And then you should have 1 minute for the first question, because it's literally just looking at the first paragraph and putting some things in. It should not take longer than a minute. And then about 7 minutes each on question 2 and question 3. And then question 4, because it's slightly bigger and a lot more marks, you want to be spending about 20 minutes on that. It's roughly, about a mark a minute. Bar the first one, you should get 4 marks for that. And then you do want to make sure that you're putting some time planning in there as well, because that's really important. Just for the general structure of the whole question, like you do get marked on how cohesive and how well written it is. So it's important just to spend 2-3 minutes with the start of the question just planning what you're going to write. So, question 1, 4 marks. Students should really not be dropping marks. Make sure they read the question carefully, as sometimes they do put things in to trip you up. But if you read the question carefully and you read the source question carefully, it should not be an issue. And we'll have to read the first paragraph of the source and write 4 things it's asking. So let's go through the paper while we kind of do this. So, that's the mark scheme. So this is the paper, and this is what the first question will look like. So read again the first part of the source from lines 1 to 4. There's 4 things about master from this part of the source, and then this is what the source will look like. So it's giving you the lines that you need. So 4 things. So master was a little crazy. He had spent too many years reading books. So there we go. Little crazy. Too many years reading books. You can, and then even overseas, you could probably say he travels. Talked to himself in the office. Did not always return greetings. Had too much hair. He's a good man. And then, that's it. That didn't even take a minute. All you need to do is highlight and then put those in. And then that's that question done. That's why I'm saying students really shouldn't be dropping marks. This one was kind of nice, but sometimes they do put things in there that aren't really about the person they're talking about, and they're just trying to trip you up. But like I said, if you read it carefully, no issue. So now question 2, 8 marks. This question will centre around language. Your student will have to identify how the writers use language to present a certain theme or feeling. They will need to know the different language techniques and select a range of different techniques. So you can't just focus on one. So again, if we look at the past paper, you'll get given this extract. And then how does the writer use language here to describe, I can't pronounce that name, impression of the city? You could include the writer's choice of word or phrases, language features, techniques, and sentence forms. So you should normally aim for about 3 different things here. So you can go through, you can highlight which ones have been used. We can compare that to the mark scheme here. And if we look, it says you need to analyze the effects of the writer's choice in language, select a range, use textual detail, and make sophisticated and accurate use of judgment. So that's for the top marks, but you should always be aiming for that. And then if you do a bit less, that's fine. And then here is kind of that model answer. So it's really focusing. Sorry. So if we look, the student here has got bits from the text using the answer, and then kind of backed up what they have talked about in this, and then said about how that choice of language has affected that overall feeling. So some questions are slightly different, but this question, it does really want you to emphasize that the type of words that I've used. So it said and the abstract noun. So you want to really implement those knowledge of language techniques. And then the second one is about structure. And I do find students struggle a bit more on this because structure is a bit more of a trickier thing sometimes to find. So it's a similar thing, and it's just about structure. But instead of using just one extract from the text, you'll get asked to use the whole text. So you need to be showing different themes and how it's kind of changed throughout. So what the writer focuses your attention on the beginning of the source, how and why the writer changes the focus and develops, and any other structural features that interest you. So again, we can refer to the mark scheme here. And it's a similar thing, and it's just all about structure. So the writer uses position of the sentences. They are standing for the back door very promptly at the start of the paragraph to highlight this pivotal point. So you need to be using how it affects the feeling and the themes and what the writer wants you to be focusing on in those extracts. So you're not picking out certain languages, you're picking out the text as a whole and how that structure draws your attention into different places. And then the last one is the big one, and it's a 20 marker. This is the one that I really advise doing planning on. These ones you could probably jump straight into because you just need 3 points, really. 3 different things going through. This one, you do need a bit more structure. So, like I said, you've got to reply to a statement that has been said. All right, that's the text again. So here it says focus this part of your answer on the second part of the source from lines 20 to the end. A student said, from the moment he arrives at Master's compound, the writer portrays the character's feelings of pure excitement. But by the end, it seems he may be very disappointed. To what extent do you agree? So normally a good thing to do is just agree. And then again, you want 3 good points. But you'd like an intro, 3 points, and then a conclusion at the end of your paragraph. So you can talk about how maybe you don't agree with this statement in some cases, but you could write 3 things about why that statement is correct. And you want to be highlighting structure and language in this answer. Also, it says focus the part of your source on the latter part, but if you're talking about structure and you want to talk about how that's changed throughout, then you can talk about the source as a whole. But what I would say is if you are quoting, only quote from lines 20 to the end, because that's the bit I want you to focus on. Okay, and lastly, part B is the writing one. So you can choose between 2 questions, writing a certain scene or place, or one writing a whole story. So normally about 1 hour for this question, and it's about 15 minutes of planning and 45 minutes of writing, I would say, because you get marked so heavily on how well this is constructed. So it's really important to make sure that you're planning your answer the whole way through, especially if you are writing a story, because you want to make sure that you've got a very clear, start, build up, twist, end, and resolve. So that's a normal, general, basic layout of the story if you've got a short time. But I said this in one of the last videos, is that the story lines are really, really loose. So this is write a story about a new beginning. What does that even mean? Any story could really be about that if you just change a few things. So that's why, I tell students, go for the story one and plan it beforehand, because you can make that story fit. If you come up with the general plot of your story, maybe the characters, the relationship between the characters, and you have all those ideas ready to go in your head, then when you get in the exam, you just maybe need to tweak a few things to fit the story brief, and then away you go. Because describe a place at sunset, as suggested by this picture. These ones are a little bit more specific, so you've got to think on your feet a lot. And yeah, you can use a picture to help you, and you have those writing text in your head. You could write a better one of these in the time you have. Like, it is hard to write a good whole story in the time you've got. But, like I said, if you plan it beforehand, then you're fine. And I think, like I also said, you got 16 marks for the technical accuracy here. So that SPAG aspect is really important in this question. Ooh, almost clicked off there. What's happening? Yeah. So you get marked and use your own writing techniques. Will need to be well planned and written. And I advise, when planning, make notes of what you would add in certain techniques. So yeah. So have a few literacy devices in your head, and as you're planning, in paragraph one, be like, I'm going to include some alliteration or assonance. Here I'm going to include this. So, because sometimes you can get a bit carried away with writing, and you forget you're meant to be hitting those writing techniques. So if you, in your plan, just make little checklists of stuff to do, then that's just a nice way of boosting up some marks. Right, so this is just a basic overview of language paper 1, and I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.